So, of course, we all know who you are, but for the purposes of history and tape, please tell us who you are and what you do.
My name's David Michaels. I'm Assistant Secretary of Labor for OSHA.
Tell me what the most pressing issue facing OSHA is today and what you wanted to bring the folks that came this morning. What message did you want to give them?
Well, in some ways, I think the most pressing issue is how to engage the millions of employers around the United States to step up their safety and health performance. Right now, 3 million or more workers are being injured on the job every year. Who knows how many are exposed to hazardous chemicals. OSHA is a very small agency. We have some fabulous people. They're very dedicated. We have a great collaboration with NIOSH. But the change has to take place at the work site. And too many employers don't get that. And they're willing to let workers get hurt. And that's what has to change. We have to think about different ways to engage employers so they take that very seriously. We can't just be doing inspections, though we will keep doing inspections. We can't just be issuing standards for new chemicals, though we plan to do that as well. We have to do many more things to really change what's going on in the American workplace.
You talked about vulnerable communities, people that are new on the job, maybe haven't been trained yet, and they're getting hurt. Can you talk more about how we can address those day-to-day issues?
Well, we recognize that this issue of the changing workplace is raising all sorts of new concerns. We have workers who are working for contractors, subcontractors, staffing agencies, put into a workplace first day on the job. They're often not trained, they're not oriented to what the hazards are, and the employers aren't communicating. So what we'd like to see is employers, first of all, embracing safety health management programs, but then as a component of that, have an active collaboration between the various employers at the same site to make sure they're all on the same page. They know how to protect all the workers there.
Let's talk about going forward. What would you like to, you have a captive audience here of IHOH professionals, what would you like them to go out and do now that they are armed with this new information?
Well, I think one of the things, and I talked about this a little bit in my talk, is I think IHs have to show employers that safety and health isn't just a cost. This is, by addressing safety and health, they will become better employers. It will help their workers, certainly, but it will also mean that they understand their job better. They understand production, they control production. Workers aren't going to get hurt, but they will make a better product. They will do a better job. I firmly believe that safety and health is a value proposition.
So tell me what you think about what we were talking about a little earlier on the stage, that safer companies may be a better bet. They might be a better investment.
We are certainly seeing that sort of evidence, and there are a couple of studies now that show that safe companies outperform those companies which don't manage well, and that makes perfect sense. That's one of the reasons we have this new regulation that will publicize injury rates. And injury rates aren't the best measure, but it's the only one we have really of safety performance. And when you look at a company where there's a very high injury rate, you know something is going on there that's questionable. And if I were an investor thinking about what company to invest in, I certainly wouldn't put my money into a company where a lot of workers are being hurt. It's a sign that they don't know how to manage.
Last question for you. You mentioned some really interesting data on basically satisfaction of the American people with OSHA. Can you talk a little bit about those findings?
Sure. No, the Pew Research Group has shown that when you ask random Americans, they asked 4,000 randomly chosen Americans to evaluate the performance of federal government functions. And after responding to natural disasters, protecting workers at the workplace, safe and fair workplace standards, was the number 2 rated government function. So we think Americans recognize how well we're doing, and they're very supportive of our work.
Anything you want to say to AIHCE, to the conference goers here today before you leave?
Just to thank everyone. Their commitment and their work makes a big difference. There's so many workers who go home safely at the end of the day, who live long, productive lives because of the work that you do. So thank you.
Thank you.